Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. It's Thursday, July 23rd. We're very glad you're with us for Effective Resumes today. For those of you who happen to be on Zoom, if you will, please, there's a couple options at the very top of your screen, a couple view options. If you'll please try to put it in speaker view. Speaker view is on the lower left hand. It's what it looks like. So that way you'll see the speaker on one side and the slide next to it, and right in between the two, there's those three little white lines. You can grab those and you can make the speaker bigger or smaller, whatever fits for your particular screen. Over in the lower right hand side, that's what the gallery view looks like, but we ask that you go with speaker view. That way you'll be able to see our speakers today. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channels for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment's name and picture to appear. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions when they pop up, please go ahead and just enter them in the chat box. That way our speakers will stop every once in a while and take a look at it, and we'll make sure we get your questions answered. For those of you on Facebook, I do monitor the Facebook feed. Just enter your question in the comment field and I'll make sure that we get it asked for you. We will be reviewing one or two resumes today live online. We probably ask you can submit your resume using the chat box down there where you see the little blue arrow with the file. You can attach your resume. You may want to delete your header information. You know, you can become Mickey Mouse, Tom Cruise, Angelina Jolie, whatever you'd like to be, instead of so everybody doesn't see your stuff. And like I said, it will be recorded and will be out there on YouTube and on Facebook from here to eternity. Well, good afternoon again. My name is Jeff Morris. I founded Career DFW back in 2008 to help the unemployed in the DFW area. In 2012, I created CareerUSA.org after a visit to the White House when I found out there really wasn't anything else like Career DFW in the country. Nobody else was thinking about a bigger picture to help lots of people. I facilitate and I lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I've been doing that since 2007. And I am a member of the practice interview team, conducting interviews on Wednesdays, or now conducting interviews online since 2017. We've got two great speakers with us today, Carol Brickell and Janice Hendricks. And ladies, I'll let you take it over and off we go.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you, Janice, for joining in. And we'll have you introduce yourself in a moment. First of all, I will share my presentation. And get into presentation mode and hope everybody's having a good day. Can you see it okay, Jeff? Thank you, that's great. And we're going to make this fun and interactive. So if everyone can hover over the bottom part of your screen and see the Zoom menu and click on the participant box, and I'm going to do the same thing. And when I'm looking over there, I'm looking at my other monitor so I can see all the participants. And once you've done that, if you could click on the green check mark in the bottom of the participant box, if you can hear my voice and see the screen, okay. And somebody was getting an echo out there. Are you hearing an echo? Hopefully not. Hopefully you're hearing my voice okay. And the next thing I'd like for you to do is click on the chat box. And I'm going to do the same thing and move it over to, this is funny. Sometimes the chat box doesn't open for me, so I have to open annotate and close it. And then the chat box opens. I'm not sure why that happens. If anybody knows, I'm a pretty good Zoom user, but for some reason the chat box doesn't always open for me. So if everybody could open up the chat box and type in an answer to this question. And now I can see, somebody said click on the word file. Thank you. And I did get the chat box opened. So if you could, everybody go into the chat box and type in a few phrases to answer this question. What challenges have you experienced while looking for work during the pandemic? Either challenges with relating to your resume or to your job search. What challenges have you experienced during this pandemic? It's kind of the theme today. Every week for this session, we try to bring in new content. And one of the themes today is we will be talking about some tips, resume tips during the pandemic. And thank you. I've already gotten a sample resume in the chat box. So thank you. I'm going to save that right now into my files. Give me a brief moment, and I just saved that. And also in the chat box, I had loaded an article, some articles in a document, in a PDF document, so you can download those and read them later after the session. You don't need to read them while we're talking today. So let's see some of the answers. A lot of people have gone in and answered the question about what challenges that they've faced. Somebody's had computer technical issues and not being able to meet people in person is definitely a challenge. And so that's why you want to hone your skills on using Zoom. And when I do career coaching sessions, I always do them on Zoom. And usually the first 5 or 10 minutes is spent, checking on the camera angles, the lighting, and providing feedback about that. And then somebody mentioned competition, and we will address that today. There are hundreds of applicants for every job, and I can attest to that. When I worked as a recruiter, there'd be, back then, a few years ago, 100, 200, now there's often 300 or more applicants for the same job. So you need to do some extra steps to get noticed. And scheduling networking meetings is a challenge during COVID. I'm actually finding it easier because I don't have to drive places to drive to my little office space to meet people, so I can schedule back-to-back meetings. More people applying, getting people to respond when you reach out to them. Yes, challenges with technology, not enough jobs. Yeah, the number of jobs has gone down, applicants have gone up. And companies are not posting jobs and don't believe they are hiring. And as I talk to my friends that are still recruiters, I retired from recruiting, the jobs kind of went down for a while. Now they're starting to pick back up again. It's what I'm hearing based on some input yesterday I got from some recruiters. And then somebody said how to make their resume 2 pages. I can help you with that if needed. And during this pandemic and through the rest of August, I am offering a free career coaching session to those with a financial need. So if you need help with your resume, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can set up a session. Yeah, how to cut the resume down to 2 pages. Understanding how much experience to place on the resume. Yeah, we're going to talk about all these things. Okay, lack of confidence due to age. Okay, and seeking a new job. We could definitely talk about that. I looked for a job when I was 60 and got the job. And so it's really a matter of, it is kind of a mindset. You have to apply for a job where you know you can bring value to that hiring manager. You need to be able to express that very clearly. So somebody, I see Regis Philbin has submitted a resume. So the third resume, that Regis Philbin one, we may not have time to get to today. So if I don't get you to today, we will, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn and we can cover your resume or discuss it offline. So thank you everyone for playing along with that. And now by way of introduction, I do have 30 years of experience working in an IT organization as a hiring manager. I worked in systems development, sales, HR, learning and development, a lot of different spaces. And that whole time I worked as a hiring manager and I mentored other hiring managers. And then I took early retirement in 2012 because I knew so many people that had gotten laid off. And I wanted to get a job as a recruiter so I could learn the recruiting industry so that when I ultimately retired and became a career coach, I would know all these tips and tricks. And that story came true. I worked for 6 years in recruiting, both in agency and corporate environments. And now I'm working as just for myself as a career coach. And I am able to share everything I've learned. Okay. And then, so I've placed candidates in a variety of different roles, all the different areas I mentioned, IT, HR, accounting, finance, administrative, project management. And like Jeff and Janice, I volunteer with the PIT crew, which is the practice interview team. And it's a great organization. If you haven't practiced your interview skills, I highly recommend you reach out to the PIT crew and set up a mock interview, either in preparation for a real interview or just using a sample job description. And Jeff has put the information up on the screen, and all you have to do on his screen, and all you have to do is send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com, and we'll get you on the schedule. And we'll do a mock interview with you and provide you with all sorts of feedback on what you did well and how you can even enhance your interview skills. And I've also been certified by the Professional Association of Resume Writers and Career Coaches. Now at this time, I'd like to give Janice a chance to introduce herself and her background.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Carol. Thanks for joining us. As Carol and Jeff shared, my name is Janice Hendricks. I, like many of you, am currently a job seeker, and I'm an operations leader in the property casualty insurance industry. I have over 20 years of experience as a hiring manager. I hired in roles from entry level to senior management in departments including accounting, finance, claims, and just administrative roles. And I worked within the P&C industry for over 20 years too. So just a lot of experience, and am always happy and glad that I get to share information during presentations such as this. Like they shared, I am also a PIT crew member, and I've been doing that for a little over a year. So it's been a great experience for me being on the, practicing myself being on that side of the table, but also as many of you are finding out, so much has changed since many of us interviewed for many of the jobs we had for some time. So getting that experience and knowledge of what today's world's like, and so excited to be here and hope that you all find this informative. And if there's anything that I could do to assist you, please reach out.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, Janice has done a great job volunteering with the PIT crew, and you always ask really thoughtful questions and provide great feedback. And so that's why we've invited you to co-present with us today. So thank you again for joining us. And here's the agenda for today's session. We mix it up just a little bit every time. In the first part, we'll talk about applicant tracking systems, the systems that when you apply online, we'll talk about that. And then I'll share some research that I've done recently about top resume tips during this pandemic. Found a couple of really great articles from Forbes and Indeed. I'll summarize them here during the presentation. And then in the chat box, at the beginning, at the top of the chat box, I submitted a document that you can download and read the full article. So I thought they were well written. And then we'll review key components of the resume. And for those of you who have attended this weekly Resume Thursday session before, if you could give me a green check mark in the participant box if you've seen our presentation before. If you've never seen this weekly Thursday resume thing, give me a red X. And I'd like to know my audience. And it looks like it is a blend. I'm seeing a few people hitting check marks. So give us a green check mark if you've attended one of these Thursday sessions once before. Give us a red X in the participant box if this is your first time and you've never seen it before. Good, we've got a good a blend here. And we do try to bring in new content every time, and then we review some of the basics every time too, because sometimes we bring up new nuances about some of the basic components. And then during the second half of this session today, during the second 30 minutes of it, we will review sample resumes, and we'll probably get through one or two that have been submitted. And I think a total of 4 have been submitted. So if we don't get your resume today, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I can provide feedback for you. Good. Okay. And regarding applicant tracking systems, when you apply online directly with a corporation, usually they're using a system like Taleo, iCIMS, or maybe Workday, a component of Workday, when you're submitting your application. And what it does is it reads the information in your resume and parses the data, breaks out the pieces and puts it into the database, like the name, the phone number, the job titles you've had, and the company names. So if you have any special characters in your resume, it could throw off the parsing. So if you have any special boxes, underlines, special fancy bullet points that are like chevrons or check marks, that can throw off the parsing process. So we recommend having a very clean version of a resume without any special characters. The standard bullet point in Microsoft Word does work okay. So you can use those. And you want to make sure that you do align to the keywords in the job description, because the ATS system is going to be looking for keyword matches. And we'll show some examples of how to do that effectively. And if you want to test out your resume in relation to an actual job description, you can use an online tool called jobscan.co and upload your resume and a job description. It'll tell you if you're a 30% match or a 70% chance. If you need to, and that'll give you feedback so you can determine if you need to modify the language and the keywords that you're using in your resume. And then you can usually also attach your resume as an attachment in the applicant tracking systems. And they often ask for a cover letter. I will tell you as a recruiter, I never had time to look at the cover letters. So don't put a lot of time into them. If they're required, go ahead and submit one. And Jeff, if you've got it handy to upload, I do have a very simple cover letter format that can be used and modified just really quickly if you do want to upload a cover memo or use a cover letter when you're networking with people. Okay. All right, so that's about ATS systems. Okay. And somebody said, what % match should we be targeting on jobscan.co? That's an excellent question. I would say probably the 80-20 rule, 80% or above. And usually recruiters are looking for people that match 80 to 90% of the requirements in the job. And thank you, Jeff, for uploading the 2 templates that we have, cover letter template and also a sample resume template. Okay, now I'm going to go into these 2 articles that I mentioned that have resume tips during the pandemic. And the first article is by Forbes. And once again, these articles, the full version of the articles you can read later. They're in the attachment in the top of our chat box. And one from the article of Forbes, one of the first things they say, you know, if you're wanting to get noticed especially during this pandemic when things are so competitive, don't have too much jargon in your resume. You know, for example, I worked for 30 years at EDS, and we had a lot of acronyms that we used and terminology that we used within our environment. But you need to be careful about that language and jargon and acronyms, and make sure that you're speaking either in layman terms or in terms that that new company would understand, maybe based on language they're using in their job description. So too much jargon is something to definitely avoid. And if you do use an acronym, spell it out the first time. And then also, you know, we all say, all the career coaches and recruiters say in your resume, make sure it's results oriented. All those bullets, make sure they're results oriented, but don't put every single result you ever achieved. You want to focus on the most critical results relating to that job. And also the article goes to talk about, you know, in your bullet points in your resume, you want to be able to pass the 3-word skim test. And this is because recruiters tend to spend about 7 seconds looking at a resume. And that's true. I can attest to that. I just look at the top of the resume, maybe the most recent job, skim down, look at longevity and jobs, look at the degree, and that's about it. So you want the first 3 words in your bullet to explain very clearly what you did. And so you want to pick words carefully and verbs carefully that match the job you're applying to. So the 3-word skim test, the article talks about that. And you don't want an overwhelming format. A lot of people think, oh, the way to get noticed is to make my format really glitzy. And you don't want to make it too complicated or have 2 different columns. That could throw off the ATS and also can cause confusion for a recruiter that's trying to read the resume. Do I look at this column? Do I look at that column? And so we recommend a clean, simple version. Okay, and there's probably questions coming into the chat. I haven't had a chance.
Carol, I'll post that document again, because if people weren't part of the group at the time, they won't see it. So I'm about to put it up on the chat box again.
Okay, great. And if you could do the PDF version, because the Microsoft Word version may not post because there are links in that.
Yes, I just got done saving it as a PDF.
Yes, excellent, thank you. And then a recruiter from Indeed also wrote an article that's in my handout. And I thought he also did a really good job for resume tips. And he said, when you're applying for a job, actually read the job description. And that's such great advice. And we advise that as well, to read the job description. Take a few minutes. It'll be worth your time, and study it. Study the keywords, and then go back to your resume and make sure your resume uses those keywords relating to that job description. And Janice will be showing you an example a little bit later in our presentation today. And then include keywords from the job description in your resume, and make your qualifications easy to find. You want to have your resume top loaded at the top, especially in the upper summary section and your areas of expertise, with keywords relating to the job that you're applying to. You want to make it easy for that screener to know that you're a good match for that job. Good. All right. And now just some general guidance about resumes, and to address some of the questions or challenges that came in through the chat. The overall goal of your resume really is to make it easy for these ATS systems and also screeners such as recruiters and hiring managers to determine that you're a good match for the job. And so the one way to do that is by making the formatting clean, error-free. Even spacing errors can really throw off. I mean, I've seen hiring managers throw aside resumes that have spelling errors or even spacing errors in them. So make sure your formatting is clean, that there's lots of white space, not too much text in your formatting. And then the overall length. People have asked about, 2 pages, how to do that. And 2 pages is kind of the sweet spot. Trying to cram a lot of experience onto 1 page is sometimes difficult. So 2 pages is fine, absolutely fine. In some industries, such as government, higher education, and highly technical jobs, sometimes you might need to add more information and make it 3 or 4 pages with an extra page for publications or certifications. But 2 pages tends to be the sweet spot. And in terms of number of years to show of experience to show on your resume, basically you have 3 options. I'm going to talk real quickly through these 3 options. And I'd like for everyone to go into the chat box and type in a letter. Type in what letter you think, which option you think you would use, because it's a very personal choice regarding how much you show on your resume. For me, when I was applying for a job at the age of 60, I showed all my experience from 1980 on, because I was networking with people I knew, they knew my background, and so I just put it all out there. But I got it to 2 pages. I spent more space on my most recent jobs than the older jobs. And then and the other option that I've seen a lot of people do is show only the most recent 10 or 15 years and then chop it off. As a recruiter, when I would get resumes like that and go into an interview with somebody, I could tell the resume was chopped off. So it made me kind of wonder, okay, what am I missing here in this story? Or what are they hiding? And often during an interview, when I would ask a question, tell me about a time you led a challenging project, and the person would say, oh, when I was worked for the FAA, I ran this big complex project. And I'd look at the resume and say, well, where is that experience? And I had candidates say, oh, I didn't include that. That was so long ago. And I didn't want to look old. I've had candidates say that. So, that's one option, chop off your resume, but it does look chopped off. So the third alternative is to spend more time showing your more space showing your recent 10 or 15 years of experience, and then have an additional heading that says prior relevant experience, and simply list the company names and your job titles. And you don't have to put the dates on those. That way it shows the full picture. It doesn't look like you're hiding anything, and you don't have to put the dates if you don't want to. So it's kind of a personal choice, and so it's really up to you. And then somebody said they're doing 20 years and then additional professional experience at the end. Perfect. Yeah, that works well for you. And somebody's doing A, several people are doing C's, a couple people are doing B. I would just say, if you do B and just chop it off with nothing else, it could cause confusion during the interview process. So, so go ahead. Thanks for playing along with that. And now we'll talk through key components of a resume. And I'll be using a format, and the template that we've shared is based on a template I developed when I worked as a recruiter, and I was getting a lot of feedback from hiring managers regarding what they like to see, and also feedback about ATS systems and keeping it clean. And so basically the key components of a resume, there could be other components like certifications, publications, or additional components, but some of the key ones are having a heading, summary. Key accomplishments is an optional section I'll talk about. Professional experience, previous relevant experience, education, and software skills. So I will get us started on this, and then Janice will also walk through some components as well. So I'm going to pause for a moment. Janice, based on everything I've talked about so far, did you have any additional points you wanted to add at this point, or should we move on?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think the resume was a great one. The length of time, I guess as I'm working and helping people more and more, C is of use, where people are showing, they're really relevant, and then showing prior experience. Recruiters are looking for those keywords and those key matches. So it doesn't matter when you did it. It's just a matter that you did it. And I think that that's what's critical. And then, remembering as we're giving advice that the resume needs to really speak to who you are, and that, ultimately you're the one who has to be in the interview when they're asking questions about the resume. So we're all giving advice. And if you speak to other people, you'll probably get some additional advice. Mm-hmm. But remember to use what resonates with you.
Thank you for that, Janice. That's absolutely correct. You'll hear different perspectives based on our experiences and feedback we've seen from hiring managers. And so it's really your job as a participant in this session just to soak it all in, listen to all this feedback, and then choose what works best for you, or based on the situation. And it could vary based on the jobs that you're applying to. Okay, to get started with the resume format, the heading, you want to make sure it's really clean with your name, right front and center. And these 4 types of contact information: the phone number, the location, and if you live in maybe a suburb that not many people know about, sometimes people recommend using the biggest close city like Dallas. So you can decide whether you want to do that. And then you can include the zip code if you wish. Some recruiters use that to search, and some don't. So, and then have your email, and then your LinkedIn URL is also important.
Just make sure you personalize that LinkedIn URL.
Yes, it's easy to personalize the LinkedIn. You can just go into your profile, edit your profile, and in the upper right, there's a option where you can modify your LinkedIn URL, and you want to modify it to take out all those special code words or letters that are in it, letters or numbers. And so you can modify it to make it simpler and then put it on your resume. You do not need, in fact, you should not put your physical street address on your resume, because there have been some employment law lawsuits and issues regarding addresses, so you don't need to include those. And then my favorite part of the resume is the summary section. And this should not be an objective that says, I am seeking a position where I can continue to grow my skills and leadership. You don't want a statement like that. You want the summary to be a summary of who you are as a professional relating to the job that you're applying to. And sometimes people would put professional summary as the heading there, but as the example shows, if it's appropriate, put the actual job title, especially if you've been a business analyst and you're applying for a business analyst job, put business analyst there so it's very clear you're the person they're looking for. And then have that opening statement be really strong that, like, for example, this one, I'm an innovative business analyst with a proven track record of documenting business requirements, and so on. And include key areas of expertise. Expertise is a nice, strong word. It's a little stronger than saying key skills or core competencies, areas of expertise. And this is where you can really modify it to align with the job description and make sure these top three, the top three along the top and the top three in the first column, or the three in the first column, align really strongly with the job that you're applying to. So that's very important. Especially modify this section for every time you apply.
Carol, we've got a couple questions in the chat box.
Oh, thank you.
One of them is, where would you list certifications and training? And back on the previous slide where Carol had showed your areas of expertise, if the job description says they're looking for someone who has a PMP, I would probably put my certification there, as well as at the bottom where you expect education. Training, I would put that under the education portion as well,
yes.
As long
yes.
as it's relevant for the job you're applying for. And Lily asked, is the LinkedIn URL or email address going to throw off the ATS system? No, as long as that information that Carol shared about your heading is actually within the document portion of your resume, not a header. Most ATS systems don't recognize headers or footers. So as long as it's actually in the document portion of your resume, the ATS system is going to pick that up as information
yes.
that it should parse and do something with.
Yeah, and even if it's a live URL link, I think you're okay. I think you're okay with that. And yes, regarding certification, if it's required, I'd put your name, comma, PMP if required, and then listed under maybe your education and certification section. Okay, great. Thank you for that.
No
so I didn't get a chance to look at all those. Good.
Jeff and I got your back.
And yeah, and key accomplishments is a optional section that you can list under your areas of expertise. And I see this more often in resumes for salespeople, recruiters, things that are very quantitative and with lots of quantitative measures, and where the hiring manager is going to want to see a track record of achieving targets that are quantifiable or awards, those types of things. So this is an optional section. And then professional experience, you want to make it reverse chronological order, easy to read with the dates outright justified for the length of time that you've been for the companies. Make sure the verbs are in the appropriate tense. Past jobs should all be in the past tense. And you'd be surprised how many times I see resumes where they are not in the past tense, or a mixture. And you want to make sure they're parallel. And you want to limit the number of bullets for every job to maybe 5 to 8 bullets. I've seen some that have gone on 15, 20 bullets. A hiring manager will not be able to read all of those. And they should focus on results. I'll move to that really quickly. How do you, and I often get the question, how do you focus the bullet points more on results? And I say, play the so what game. And I'll walk you through a quick scenario that was a real life scenario when I was coaching somebody on their resume, and it was a business analyst. They had a bullet point that said they developed visual basic programs to automate the conversion of data. And, that's pretty good. But I asked them, I said, so what? What was the result? What was the outcome? What was your accomplishment? And then they said, oh, actually this did kind of result in reducing the data migration time and eliminating errors and increasing stakeholder confidence. So by asking, so what, they got to the result. So they reworded their bullet to start with a stronger verb that really focuses on the result. Reduced data migration time, eliminated errors, and increased stakeholder confidence by developing that basic program. So that's an example of playing the so what game. So I encourage you all to, go to your resume and play the so what game. Okay, at this time, I'll turn it over to Janice to talk through the next few slides.
So often, and I saw someone in the chat mentioned it too, where you have worked at a company and you've held multiple roles, you've been there an extended period of time, how to show that on your resume. So you really want to make sure that you show all of those roles on your resume. When you look at that, you think about that, it shows longevity, it shows commitment, it shows learning agility, all of those things without even having to talk to anyone. You can capture that information from your resume. So look to include all of the date, and I think that's Carol. Carol, I see Jeff's hand.
Yes,
so.
Yeah, I'm doing the annotation. I know Jeff likes to do this too. He may get in here and start drawing too. So
you want to include all of the date as we've done in the upper right. So all the time period that you spent within a company. And then looking over towards the left, you'll see where closer to where you've got the roles listed. That's where you're going to put the information regarding at what time period you handled those roles. Again, you want to make sure that your formatting is consistent and you keep that same throughout the resume.
Okay.
And oftentimes, especially, who knows what's going to make it through, right, this COVID period. So we see companies changing names, being acquired, and you'll want to make sure that you include that information on your resume. And it's really a personal preference and an industry preference about how you show that information. I know in the insurance industry that I operate in, many smaller regional carriers get acquired by larger companies, whether it's Liberty Mutual, Allstate. But in the area someone's interviewing in, that regional carrier may carry more weight. So they'll want to say, this is, like the second bullet, ABC company that was acquired by Liberty Mutual. Or you might have some smaller in the IT industry, smaller companies that were purchased by, HP or Microsoft. So, which is a much bigger name. So you might want to list the current company followed by the formerly known company. So it's really a personal preference, industry preference, but definitely wanting to share how you can express that on your resume information. And then speaking about education and your software skills, your certification, typically recruiters, hiring managers are looking towards the end of your resume for that information. The only time I've really ever seen it where education maybe push up a little bit is some recent grads. But typically it's more, you're looking for it towards the end of the resume. And again, trying to keep it to things that are relevant. So, like I took a Dale Carnegie class, and depending upon what I'm applying for, I sometimes include it, I sometimes don't. So just depends. And software skills, again, it's about what's being asked for in that particular job description. So if they're looking for a Microsoft Office and they specifically say Microsoft Office, include that. If they're not, some of that's just assumed. Save that real estate on your resume for other skills and tools that they're really looking for within that job description. I see a couple of questions coming through on the
Yeah,
chat.
we can probably get to the questions after you cover the slide.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk through the questions while I'm pulling up those other ones.
So our slides here are really examples, and Carol talked about it, and I think anytime you speak about applying for a job, whether it's interviewing, whether it's a resume, it's really about going back and reviewing that job description and then seeing how you fit. So looking at the job description, you'll see things like business requirements, cross-functionally, and so then it's about using utilizing those words within your resume. So Carol talked about using jobscan.co. Another thing that I use sometimes is Tag Crowd, which takes word you pop in, copy in, and paste in the job description. And what it will do is it, makes bigger words for the things that are used often. So whether it's agile or Visual Studio or whatever it may be, so it will visually show you which words are most important, because they're used more often in that job description, and which things you want to make sure you get in your resume. So again, it takes some time, but it's worth the time and the effort, because as Carol shared, most recruiters are looking for someone who has at least an 80% keyword match. So this is definitely where you want to take some time and effort each time to make sure that you are taking the time to make sure that there's some match between the two.
Great, and now we can kind of address these questions while I bring up the other resumes. And somebody asked about the software packages. So one is Tag Crowd, and thank you, somebody just posted that. And the other one is jobscan.co. Good. And so I'm going to bring up the sample resumes. And when I do that, I won't be able to see the chat box.
Okay.
Janice, you could talk through some of these questions that are in
For anybody who's interested in the pit crew, I'm going to post a document that has all the information about the Dallas pit crew. So you can download it. It'll be up in the chat box in just a second.
Okay.
Okay.
So are there any other questions?
I think there was a question about bridge jobs. Bridge jobs, really, it's a personal preference. If the bridge job is and it's not related and it's the only thing you've been doing, I would say step back and see what things from that bridge job you can bring in that are related. So I have someone in my accountability group who's currently working at Tom Thumb. And one of the things that we actually did this today was we talked about, there's customer service. There he is the person at the door responsible for ensuring people have masks on. So there's influence, there's negotiation. So I think that sometimes we think that simply because it's not a job in our field, that there's no way to utilize that on the resume. But it's about, Carol said the so what, and, it's about stepping back and really looking at what skills are you able to translate from that role that translate into the role that you're looking to go into. So simply because it's not in your field doesn't mean that that bridge job won't be effective on your resume.
Yeah, if you highlight those skills. And then also, I think because of the job market now, and as a recruiter, I would respect people if they, had a 6-month job search, because it does take a month for, every 10,000 you're looking for. That's one of the rules of thumb in terms of how long it can take to find a job if you're not networking a lot. And I respect people that get a job at Home Depot or something else, just to keep working, to keep providing for their families while they're searching for a job. So I think people respect that. And then we'll address one other quick question, contract employment, how to reflect that on a resume. One thing to do is don't list the staffing agency, but if you can, like let's say you went through Robert Half, but we're working for American Airlines, list American Airlines and then put either behind your title or the name contract if you want. If it was a pretty long contract, like 1.5 years, maybe don't even mention it. And if somebody asks your reason for leaving, just say it was a contract assignment that ended after 12 months or 18 months. But try to put the company name versus the staffing company, because otherwise it can cause confusion. And it makes it sound like you worked at the staffing company.
References, I would say don't put any reference to references.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a different.
On your resume.
Yeah.
When you get to the point that if well, at least for me, when I've been interviewing most companies, I don't know if they're calling my references My references have said nothing to me, even though I've talked to them first. But the company will let you know when they're ready to have your references. Save the real estate on your resume for more important things.
Absolutely. And Jeff, I want to do a quick time check. Do we need to wrap up at 10 minutes prior to the top of the hour?
As long as we get done at 5 till, give me the last.
5 till. Okay, that's good. Okay, so we'll have time to go through this resume. So once again, if we don't get to all your resumes today, you're welcome to reach out to me on LinkedIn. And this is Carol Brickell. Okay. All right. And somebody asked a question for director level resume, tactical versus strategic. Those results show more tactical. Well, you want to look again at the language of the job description. If they're looking for somebody to develop and implement a strategy at the strategic level, you want your results to reflect more that way. If they're asking for more hands-on things, like create Excel files or something like that, you want to show those things. So again, the answer usually comes from reading that job description. So now I'm going to do a quick pass through of this resume. Janice and Jeff, can you see the resume okay on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. And yeah, this person took off the contact information. So just pretend that that was there with all the contact information and phone number and LinkedIn address and everything. I'm going to do a quick scroll through this almost as fast as a recruiter would really look at this resume. And I'd like for everyone to look at this. And if you see things you like about the formatting, go ahead and type those in the chat box. And if you see things that you would recommend that would make it even better, go ahead and type those things in as well. So it does have a summary section at the top with some key words, professional experience, with dates very cleanly, right? Justified. I like that. Very clean formatting. The bullets, the spacing is all even and not out of whack. Somebody's asking about vertical bars. I don't know. I haven't tested those, but I would think, I don't know if those are considered a special character or not. I actually prefer just using tabs so that the data appears more in columns. It's with more white space in between. It makes it easier to read. Otherwise, all those words kind of run together. So
I've asked about the bars a couple of times, and people say that they should be fine. As far as they know, they're not in the list of things to avoid.
Yeah, because it's a standard character on a key. Right. I think it's okay, but yet from a white space perspective, I think it causes an issue. I'd recommend 3 columns without the bars, because otherwise it just kind of runs together. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down through, and I see very consistently there's a little thing in italics about the company underneath, which can be helpful for certain situations. Okay, and then you have education, looking for software skills. Let's see, software. Don't see software skills. Okay, all right. So,
I like the white space. I think it's good on white space around the edges. I mean, it's easy to read. The bullet points I was briefly reading, they have results. I mean, that's what I'm looking for. I want to know, I don't want to know what you did. I want to know, well, yeah, I do want to know what you did, but I'm not looking for a job description. I'm looking for results. Show me your results.
Yeah, this one is very well done. Now, this, I'm not sure about these tag phrases. I guess if these are really critical and they relate to the job, maybe. And usually the summary statement is 2 to 3 lines, usually a couple of sentences. Offer cheese on sales, profitability. And usually I would start off the sentence with, again, who you are. Experienced product manager with a track record of overachieving sales and profitability targets. I would make it more of a full sentence for the lead in, because that's going to show your writing ability. And then we get into some more of the soft skills or professional skills. And that's good to include those, especially if these are the skills they're looking for in the job that you're applying to. I guess, see, there's a space in between here. I would tend to put these two sentences together in a summary all together without that space in between. And then expertise in, I would make this a heading, like we show in the template, areas of expertise, because it's kind of lost a little bit. And these little taglines for the company can be very useful. And I like the fact that they don't use up much space, just a few words, only one line. That's good.
Something I do on my resume for that second line, besides saying what the company is, I always put on there, report it to, just to show that I reported to the owner, reported to the director of operations or something.
Yes, especially for senior level positions like that. And one of the comments in chat, somebody says they prefer left justification instead of the full justification where it's lined up on both sides. And I think that is kind of the best practice, is just to do left justification. But it's good to have these dates right like that. That's very clean like that. Okay. All right. Scrolling down. Yeah, these are very strong words. Recognized for exceptional teamwork, generated 1.1 million. I would guess this person played the so what game or had somebody really help them with these results-oriented bullets. This is really good, or you're just a very good writer. So these are very good. Rated in the top 3% of Canada employees for outstanding performance. Wow. Okay. And then somebody's asking the question about month and year for the dates, or just years. On your resume, you can do either one. It's, if you have a lot of experience, and for a resume like this that goes back to 2007, I think it's fine just to show the years. Now on LinkedIn and on the job application, you'll probably have to put in the months as well, but you don't have to, because it kind of clutters up a resume. So
yeah, I think it's cleaner just to have the years on there on the resume, because once again, you got to remember, somebody is going to look at this for 7 to 10, maybe 15 seconds if they really like it, and you don't want it to be all cluttered up.
Right, right.
That very bottom job there looks like the date's not in the right spot.
Actually, I think it's positions within the same company.
Oh, yes.
The only thing I might do is you might want to put it in parentheses so that it does kind of stick out from the rest of the text.
Right.
Absolutely. And the other thing you can do is make the title italicized, and that makes it very clear that's a title and that's not a whole nother job or something. Okay.
Yeah, no, I like this. I like the resume.
Very, very well done. So this was a good example to show. So thank you to the person that shared this. This is a very good teaching example. And once again, we always have so much fun talking and we run out of time. If you have questions that we didn't address today, feel free to reach out to me, Carol Brickell, on LinkedIn. And if you have any feedback about the session as we're wrapping up, things you liked about the session or anything we can do to improve these sessions, feel free to type those into chat. And now I need to turn it back to Jeff to do final wrap up.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much, ladies. Wonderful job, great information. It's always, I love the fact the way we're sort of changing things around every week. And so it's always a little bit new. You pick up stuff. Hopefully everybody is taking a couple bits of this to apply to the resumes and then come back and join us next week. One of the things we didn't really talk about is, you know, I believe you should have like a 10 or 15 page resume that has everything you've ever done with 10 or 15 or 20 bullet points underneath each job. And then when you see a job description, you take that master resume and just cut it down to only what the person's looking for, what the job description is looking for. So Carol and Janice, thank you all very much. For those of you who are on Facebook, if you'd like to get any of these documents, just send me an email at webmastercareerdfw.org, and I will be glad to send you these documents. We have the T cover letter, the sample resume, the pit crew information, and the document of news articles about your resume during COVID. So just let me know what documents you want, or just say all 4 of them, and I'll be sure to send them to you. Tomorrow, the North Dallas Career Focus Group, please join us tomorrow morning at 9:30. I think this is a fabulous presentation it's about the one-page bio. So lots of people, you spend a lot of time on your resume. Well, your resume needs to be customized for a job description, but a one-page bio is a great networking tool, a great document to send to somebody to tell them who you are, what you do, and how you can help, but you're not getting into all the weeds and all the details. So please consider, if you'd like to find out how to do a one-page bio, I think they're extremely, extremely important. Join us tomorrow morning. Minna Browns is a great speaker, and she's been presenting this information to us for quite a while every year. Next Tuesday, LinkedIn Tuesdays at between 1 and 2 o'clock. Terry Sullivan will be with us from BuzzPro. Also a very interesting speaker. I know he's got some brand new material that he sent me that we'll be talking about next Tuesday, so join us then. And then on Wednesday, Interviewing Wednesdays, we've completed all 13 sessions, which we will be starting again in August. The first week of August, we'll be starting session 1 through 13 for August, September, and October. But next Wednesday, Mark McDonald will be talking about how to be a confident candidate, lessons from the pit crew. So things that he's seen over the last several years that he's been running the pit crew. I'll skip this part of it. You know somebody who lives outside the DFW area, please let them know about all these free networking events we've got going on, all these things that people can watch on Zoom and on Facebook. There's tons of different things they can do, and most communities don't have this. So if you know somebody outside the DFW area, or somebody here in Dallas who is, not knowing what to do, point them in our direction, because we've got all the information there to help you out. So these sessions have been recorded. Today's session has been recorded and will be on the Career DFW Facebook page. I will be uploading it in about an hour, hour and a half to the Career USA YouTube channel. Please check. Please follow us on Facebook. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. That way you'll find out about the new things that are happening. If you're on Facebook, it looks something like this without all the arrows. But when you go to the Facebook page, if you click on the red arrow, please like us. That way, when we do go live, your phone will give a little buzz saying Career DFW is currently live. When you see that green arrow, if you click on that green arrow where it says more, it will open up the box that's right above it that says videos. And that's where you can find all the videos, and they're all sorted by category. On the Career USA YouTube channel, if you click on playlist where the green arrow is, at the very bottom up will come the playlist, and then you'll see what says view full playlist, and then you'll be able to see all the different events that we've recorded so far to help you out. So just as a reminder, Career DFW is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. All the speakers are volunteers. I'm a volunteer. Everything I've done over the last 12 years has just been to help you land your next great opportunity. So, I appreciate all of our speakers who help out, everybody who helps out. We survive on donations. It helps pay for the Zoom. It helps pay for all the filings we have to do and anything else it is. So please consider, when you do land your next great opportunity, please consider making a donation. And if your company offers matching funds, please allow your donation to double in value. Look us up on the list. If you don't see us, contact me. I've gotten our name added to a couple of the lists that do that. We would really appreciate the help. So I want to thank you again, Janice, and Carol, thank you again. Great information. Hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow for the one-page bio. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see some of you next week. So have a great weekend, and we'll see everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff, and thanks, Janice. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.